I'm doing well. It has been a very long healing process. Overall, I can't say that I live tearfully. I live more cheerfully than anything. Hands up, on your march. Get set, go, go, go.
Today, Nikki Redmond is happy raising her 6-year-old daughter, Elena. Crowned Miss Savannah in 2003, she was on top of the world, but the glitter and glamour of her life as a beauty queen quickly tarnished when she ended up an accused murderer. Redmond was charged in the death of her boyfriend, Kevin Shorter. Redmond's high-profile murder trial dominated national news headlines. But after more than 2 weeks of riveting testimony, she was acquitted. Since the verdict, she's moved on with her life and has not spoken much publicly about the case until now in a tell-all book titled Beyond the Sash, a memoir.
And for so many years, I have allowed other people to tell my story and tell it inaccurately.
She said she felt it was time to tell her own account of what happened and how the case changed her life. Proud of how she was raised, she's not so proud of what she says she lacked: good judgment in men. In her book, Redmond writes about 2 relationships with men she describes as abusive drug dealers. She fell in love first with a man who called himself Tony.
It was mesmerizing, and it was intoxicating, and it was exciting to the point of danger.
Tony was later sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. Redmond made the decision to continue her college education during that time. She met and fell in love with Kevin Shorter.
Was Kevin into drugs as well, or?
Yes.
Referring to Kevin in the book only as her ex, Redmond tells how their love spiraled into abuse.
It gets alcohol added to it. It gets drugs added to it. It gets, knowing that there is another sexual partner outside of yourself, but trying to look away from it and deal with it. Our relationship was not good for either one of us. We had the ability to bring out the worst in each other.
And that's exactly what they did on December 16, 2003. Another woman Shorter was seeing had been receiving threatening phone calls. Accused of making those calls, Redmond went to the woman's house.
There was no confrontation. There was no arguing. There was no anger. Nothing.
The calm quickly turned into chaos.
He arrived. He was angry. My action was out of fear. It was never out of anger.
Redmond says she fired a shot in the air.
The bullet hit his car, slid across the car, came off the car, and went in his butt.
3 days later, Kevin Shorter died.
But I couldn't believe he was gone. I was sad. I was devastated. And I felt betrayed. I absolutely was at a point that I would just lay there and close my eyes and just wish that, maybe I won't wake up.
Facing life in prison without the possibility of parole, Redmond went on trial 2 years later. She would either walk free or go to prison for the rest of her life. As the world watched, the 2005 trial ended as intensely as it started.
The case of the state of Georgia against Sharon Nicole Redmond. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty.
And as I heard the judge keep repeating the words not guilty, I just started crying. I just sobbed. And all I could do was mouth to them, thank you.
11 years later, Redmond maintains the shooting was in self-defense.
Do you take responsibility for Kevin Shorter's death?
I can't say that I take responsibility for Kevin Shorter's death. I take responsibility, and I always have taken responsibilities for my actions and for why I acted. If I could have done one thing differently, the night I met him would have never happened. I take responsibility, and I always have taken responsibilities for my actions and for why I acted. I always will. I will never change. If I could have done one thing differently, the night I met him would have never happened.
From her home in North Georgia, former Miss Savannah Nikki Redmond clearly reflects on a valuable yet costly lesson. It was December 16, 2003.
There was no confrontation. There was no arguing. There was no anger. Nothing. It was a very brief exchange and, okay, thank you, thank you.
The calm quickly turned into chaos.
He arrived, he was angry. My action was out of fear. It was never out of anger.
Redmond says she fired a shot in the air.
The bullet hit his car, slid across the car, came off the car, and went in his butt.
What appeared to be a non-life-threatening gunshot wound turned out to be deadly. Kevin Shorter died 3 days later, and Redmond was charged with murder.
It is the most unnerving, belittling experience that you will ever feel. You are put in a holding cell for hours. You are treated like you are nobody. You are a criminal.
In 2005, this well-educated high school teacher faced a jury in one of the most highly publicized trials in Georgia history.
Not only was I painted to look like a crazed, jealous beauty queen who had to have everything her way, not only was I torn down that the night of the incident and in court as the prosecuting attorneys continued to repeat the things that he had said the night to just really berate me.
11 years later, Redmond opens up about her ordeal and the trial in a tell-all book titled Beyond the Sash, a memoir.
Being transparent is difficult, but I made the choice to do it because hopefully it inspires someone else to one day share his or her story.
Savannah attorney Michael Schiavone represented Redmond in the criminal trial.
It was a very difficult case for me because I also knew her, and she was friends with my daughter.
Today, he still believes in her innocence.
There was never any question on the physical evidence that she fired the gun away from him. She had no intent to hurt him. She just wanted to slow him down. And unfortunately, the bullet hit the back of his automobile, and it ricocheted down the side. It was just a chain of events that turned out tragic for both of them.
Schiavone says he's not surprised that Redmond is telling her story.
But she's a very lucky person because there's a thin line between walking out of court with me in a criminal murder trial and spending the rest of your life in prison.
My entire trial, the jury never looked at me. Never. Not one time. I would look over there, they would never be looking. But as the verdicts were being read, and after that last verdict was read, all 12 of them turned and looked at me. And it was the first time that I knew they saw a person sitting there. They didn't see this character that had been painted for them.
2 years following the trial, Redmond took on another new role, mom. 6-year-old Elena is her joy. Being a parent has given her a new appreciation for her experience. It's something she says she will share with her daughter in time.
Simply because I want her to know, yep, your mama went through it. I'm here. I survived it. I tried to build a better life after it, and I learned from my mistakes. And I want you to always be able to do the same thing.